Hello everybody, Drifty here from Driftwood Gaming, and in this special request RPG Maker Envy tutorial, I'm going to help anime lover Sakura 101 with her storage chest eventing. So she says, hello, I got a question. I would like to know how to event a fridge in RPG Maker. And I want to make an event where the player has an alternative storage system. For example, the player places an apple in their storage system like a fridge and then comes back later and the apple will still be there and they'll be able to take it. But if the player takes too long to get the apple, it will spoil. If there is nothing in the fridge, it'll say it's empty. If there's too much food in the fridge, it'll say it's full. I wanted to make the event so you can only take out an item if it's already there. So if there's no apples in the fridge, the player can't get one. Same concept goes for their inventory. They can't place an item if they don't have it. How would I do this event? I'm planning on using this in using this type of event in storage chests, log piles, and water storage, etc. I'm trying to make a survival game. So yeah, I can do a tutorial for you. Anime Lover Sakura 101. It's going to be a little bit of a longer tutorial. It's a little bit, I guess we can call it an advanced eventing, but it's not too hard if we break it down into little pieces. So let's get started. I'll try to explain what I'm doing instead of telling you exactly what to do, because the idea is to teach you how to do this stuff on your own. So the first thing I would like for you to do is make all of your variables and your switches beforehand. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our common events, clear space for 2 common events. Inside the common events, we're just going to make our variables. So go to control variables, select a place where you have 2 of them. Name the first one chest1 underscore timer underscore apple. The second one chest1 underscore timer underscore pear. Once you've done that, you can hit cancel, it'll save it. Go to switches. We're going to need 11 switches for each chest. You'll need 2 variables and 11 switches for having 2 items that will. You'll need a variable for every item that can spoil per chest, and you'll need 11 switches per chest. Depending on how many items. This is 11 switches for 3 items. So more items, you'll have to use more switches. So let's make all of our switches now. Change your maximum until you have a full row of 20 here, just to give you space. To make this simpler, I suggest starting on 161 unless you've already got stuff right there. So let's go and type in holding apple, holding pear, holding water, holding no items, chest1 underscore stored underscore apple. Same thing for the pear, same thing for the water, same thing for the next one, chest1 underscore expired apple, chest1 underscore expired pear, chest1 underscore no underscore stored underscore items, and then the last one, menu underscore opened. Whew. Now that we've got all that done, you might have to pause the video to do that, but once you've got all that done, just hit OK, and then you can cancel from this screen. It should save all that there. So we can cancel this event. We were just setting up our variables and our switches. Once we've got that, let's start doing our common events. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a conditional branch. So go to New, Flow Control, Conditional Branch, and you're going to select a switch. This time we're selecting Menu Opened is Off. Hit OK. Inside of that conditional statement, we're going to create another conditional statement. So right click, insert new, under flow control, conditional statement, conditional branch. And this time we're going to select variable. Chest1 timer apple is greater than or equal to. Now this is going to be the number of frames that are going to have to pass before the item will expire. So this number will be different for you. Let me explain how it works. In RPG Maker MV, it will run at 60 frames a second, unless you tell it otherwise not to. So every second is going to be 60 on this constant. So if we go 1800 divided by 60, this is going to be 30 seconds. So this is going to be a really quick expiration date on these items that are stored. You're most likely going to want to up this number. So if you would like for this to be a minute, you'll type in 3600. If you want it to be 10 minutes before it expires, you'll just put a 0 behind that, so 36,000. So the timing is up to you. Just to get through this really quickly, I'm going to use 1800 so that I can have something expire in 30 seconds. Make sure you check Create Else Branch and hit OK. Inside of that conditional statement, we're going to control 2 switches. The first switch is going to be our chest1 expired apple. Turn that on. Control switch chest1 stored apple. Turn that off. On the else handler, we're going to go control variables, chest1 timer apple, and we're going to add 1. So you'll select that variable, timer apple, select the operation of add, make a constant of 1, hit OK. That's it for that one. We're going to copy that, paste that down here. Now we're going to change all instances of apple to pair. So we're going to go, in this first conditional statement will say the same. The first nested one will be different. We'll select that. We're going to change this variable from timer apple to timer pair. And also, if you would like to have different items that would last longer, like say an apple expires quicker than a pear, or vice versa, you can make that happen as well. So select the number of frames you want it to last before it expires, hit OK. Inside of this switch, you're going to change chest1 expired apple to pair, keep that on. In that switch, you're going to go chest1 stored pair, turn that off. On the else handler, we're going to change that variable from chest1 timer apple to chest1 timer pair, but we're going to keep the same operation of adding 1. One thing you'll also have to do with your common events is to set the trigger. So we're going to make both of these common events a parallel process. So you're going to select trigger parallel. Now the switch for the apple one is going to be the switch that says chest1 underscore stored underscore apple. And then for the trigger, you'll set this one to parallel. The switch for this second common event, which is for the pair, we're going to say chest1 underscore stored underscore pair. That's for the timer for expiration. Once you're done with that, we're going to go to the items. Let's create those 3 items. So we're going to make an apple, give it a name and description, whatever you want it to be, consumable, whatever you want it to be, pair, and then we're going to make the water as well. Once you've got your items and your common events, you're going to hit OK because we're done in the database. Now let's make our first chest. We're going to right click, insert a new event, give it an image of a fridge or a chest or logs or whatever you want it to be. This is where most of this stuff is going to be taking place. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to play a sound effect. So right click, insert new. Sound effect is going to be on audio and video. Play SE. Select whatever sound effect you want to play when you open the chest. You can ignore this if you would like to. First thing after that we're going to do control switches, and we're going to turn on the menu open switch. Then we're going to control switches. We're going to turn off the holding no item switch. Control switches. We're going to turn off the chest1 underscore no underscore stored underscore item switch. Then we're going to do a conditional branch. This conditional branch is going to be controlled by a switch, and we're going to say chest1 underscore expired underscore apple is on. It doesn't need a else branch. Inside of that, we're going to show text and say the apple in the chest has expired. And then we're going to control a switch and say chest1 underscore expired underscore apple is off. So not a say, but we're going to control the switch to turn off that expired apple switch. That's it for the first conditional statement. The second conditional statement is the same thing, so you can basically copy this, paste it here. Now change this switch from expired apple to expired pear. Turn that on. In this text, you're going to change the apple in this chest to the pear in this chest. Then we're going to control the switch, and we're going to change the chest1 underscore expired apple to chest1 underscore expired underscore pear off. So we're turning that switch off. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to set the ability to select an item. So we're going to do a conditional branch and say we're actually checking the game data here. So do a new conditional branch, go to tab 4, select item, and then go to the apple in the database. It doesn't need an else branch, hit OK. Inside of that conditional branch, you're going to control switches. You're going to go turn on holding apple. The same thing, you're going to do the same thing for the pair. So new conditional branch, tab 4, check if the party's holding a pair. If they are, we're going to turn on a switch, holding pair. And the same thing for the water. New conditional branch, tab 4, check if the party's holding water. If they are, control switches, turn on holding water. That's it for that part. Now we're going to show choices. So this first choice is going to say store items, take items, or do nothing. We'll set the default to 3 and the cancel to 3. the first thing you're going to do, right underneath store items, is you're going to insert a script call. So before I do the script call, I'll let you know what plugins you need. So let's get away from this event for a second. Let's go to our plugin manager. I'm going to put a link in the description below where you can get the plugin you need for this. This plugin is by HimeWorks, and it's a really useful plugin. It's called Disabled Choice Conditions plugin. And it's pretty simple to use. All the stuff you need to know about it is in the help file here. But what we're going to be using is the script call version of disabling a choice. So we're using this line right here. And what this is going to do is it's going to see if a switch is on, it's going to let you select that choice. And if that switch is off, then it's not going to let you select that choice. That's why we did those first 3 conditional branches, to see if the party is holding those items. If they are, then they're going to have that option. If they're not, then they're not going to be able to select that option. So here's the script that we're going to do. So you're going to right click, insert new, go to tab 3, go to the bottom, under advanced, select script. A box is going to pop up. Inside of that script, you're going to make 3 lines. You're going to go disable underscore choice, and then you're going to say 1. This is going to be the first choice, and then you're going to, in parentheses, you're going to go game, $, game, capital S on switches, dot value, and in this number right here, if you're using different switches, different switch locations than I am, you'll have to change this number. The reason why this one is 161, 162, and 163 is because I'm checking if if the player has these items in controlling switch 161, 162, and 163. So if they have an apple, then this switch will be on, and they'll be able to select an apple for storing items. So once you draw this line, or once you write this line out one time, $ game, capital S on switches, dot value, 161, 3 equal signs, that's how you're going to do a comparison for these condition right here, for this condition, is set to false. So we're saying if this switch is off, then don't let the player select that choice. So copy that, paste it right here, change the number to 162, and then paste it again, change that number to 163. Next, we're going to do 3 conditional statements. So the first conditional statement is going to say, we're going to select a switch, and it's going to be the apple, or holding an apple switch is off. Inside of that conditional statement, we're going to do another conditional statement saying, so right click, insert new conditional statement, selecting switch, holding pear is off. And do the same thing for water. So if they're not holding water, an apple, or a pear, then we're going to let them know that you don't have any items that can be stored in this chest. And then we're going to turn on another switch. So we're showing text, and then we're controlling switches. This control switch is going to be, we're turning on holding no item switch. Moving on down. So we're going to insert a new conditional statement. And this conditional statement is going to be controlled by a switch. We're going to select holding no items, and we're going to say off. So if we're not holding any items, which means we're holding items, then we're going to show choices right inside of that conditional statement. Show choices. Store an apple is our first choice, store a pear is our second choice, store some water is our third choice, and do nothing is our fourth choice. Default is going to be on choice number 4, and our cancel is going to be on choice number 4. Inside of that first choice, we're going to make a conditional branch that says we're using a switch, the chest1 underscore stored underscore apple is off, and we're going to select the else branch on this one. Inside of that, we're going to change items. So right click, insert new, tab 1, change items, select that apple. Take away, so we're going to be removing this time, not adding. So we're removing an apple from the party's inventory. Then we're going to control switches. We're going to say, we're going to control chest1 underscore stored underscore apple, we're turning that on. Then we're going to show text, telling the player they put an apple in the chest. And then we're going to control switches, holding apple is off. So turn off holding apple switch. And then on the else handler, we're going to say this chest already has an apple with the show text. Alright. Now when they select a pair, it's basically doing the same thing. So to save yourself some time, go back to the one you just created for store apple, left click that first conditional branch, copy it, paste it right underneath the store pair. Now all we're doing is changing a few things. So on the first conditional statement, we're changing this instance of apple to pear. These should be the same since you copy pasted it. Chest 1 stored pear is off. Create else branch. Moving on down to where you would normally award an apple, or you would normally take away an apple. Now we're going to change that item to a pear. We're going to control the switch chest 1 stored apple into pear. So we're going to say chest 1 stored pear on. Change the instance of apple in this text to pear. Control this switch. Instead of holding apple, we're going to say holding pear off. On this show text, all you have to do is change the instance of apple to pear. Do the same thing for water. You can paste that same thing. Paste it right here underneath store some water. Change the instance of this switch from chest 1 into chest 1 stored water. It should still be off with an else handler. Change the items, taking away 1 water. Control the switch chest 1 stored water on. Change the text so that it says you put some water in the chest. Control the switch of holding water off. In the else handler, you're going to say that instead of apples or pears, now this chest already has some water. That's the end of that. When they do nothing, you have to. There's nothing that's going to happen, so you don't have to put anything there. Now we've got done with the first part, basically over halfway done. So now we're going to take when we take items, we're going to do a similar thing. We're going to do 3 conditional statements. So right-click, insert new conditional branch. In this first conditional branch, we're going to select a switch. Chest 1 stored apple is off. Then inside of that, we're going to do another conditional branch controlled by a switch. Chest 1 stored pear is off. Inside of that, we're going to do another conditional branch. Chest 1 stored water is off. If all 3 of those switches are off, then we're going to control the switch. We're going to turn on the chest 1 underscore no underscore stored underscore items switch. So turn that on. Moving down. If chest 1 underscore no underscore stored underscore items is on, we're going to show text and let the player know that the chest has no items stored. Otherwise, we're going to do another script call. So we're going to basically do the same thing that we did up here with this first script call. So you can copy that and paste that down here. And instead of using 161, 162, 163, this time we're going to use 3 different switches. And the switches we're going to be using are switch 165 for chest 1 stored apple, 166 for chest 1 stored pear, and 167 for chest 1 stored water. So paste that right here on the else handler. Change, right click and edit that. Change these numbers to 165, 166, 167, or whatever you've used, whatever switches you've used for that location. This is why using exactly the same switches makes it easier, but I've explained it so you know which ones you're changing, which ones you're selecting. So you're going to basically select this one, and this one. And that's what this script is controlling. So underneath that script call, we're going to show choices. Right click, insert new, show choices. First choice is going to be take an apple, take a pear, take some water, and do nothing. Our default is choice 4, and our cancel is choice 4. When you select take an apple, this time we're going to be changing an items to add an apple. So right click, insert new, change items, add, increase that apple item. Underneath that, you're going to show text and let the player know that we took an apple from the chest. Then we're going to control the switches. 165, we're going to control switch chest 1 underscore stored underscore apple, and we're going to turn that switch off. Then we're going to control the variables for our timer so that the timer doesn't keep counting after we've taken an apple and expire an apple that's not there. So we're going to control variables. Chest 1 underscore timer underscore apple, set that to 0. So taking a look at that, you're selecting the switch or the variable here. Use the operation of set this time instead of add, and set that to 0. You can basically copy paste everything right here that we just created for take an apple and paste it under when we take a pear. Now change all the instances of apple to pear. So change items pear plus 1. Show text so that you let the player know that they took a pear from the chest. Control the switches so that chest 1 stored pear is turned off, and control the variables for chest 1 timer pear is set to 0. Paste it again. Change all the instances of apple or pear to water. So we're going to change the items, add 1 water to the player's inventory, show the text that you took some water from the chest, control the switches, chest 1 underscore stored water is off. This time we don't need a variable because we've made water non-perishable, so water will never expire, but the apple and the pear will. And then on the do nothing, you don't have to put anything there. That will end the event. And then if you select do nothing from the first menu, it'll also do it'll also do nothing. But at the very end, we have to control 1 more switch to let the timer keep going. So we're going to control switch, menu opened, turned off. The whole idea of having the menu open turned on at the beginning of the event and turned off at the end of the event will stop the expiration timer from going while you're in the chest event. Essentially, this stops the whole system from falling apart, because otherwise you can open up the menu and then the expiration timer keeps going, and you could it could take your item if it hasn't expired yet by the time you get to the chest. So set it up like this. So your closing menu open is turned off with a control switch at the bottom, and menu open is turned on at the very beginning. If you copy this exactly how I put it, then it should be no problem. Priority is going to be same as characters if it's going to be an event. That way you don't have to stand on top of it, because some events you can't stand on top of. And then the trigger will be action button. It would also be a good idea to give your event a name if you plan on having multiple instances of these chests. So this will be chest 1. Wow, I know that was a lot, but let's take a look at it. Take a look at the script in game, or this event in game, and see how it works. So here we are. We've got our chest. We use it, and a sound effect plays, and we're prompted with 3 options: to do nothing, or we could store items, but we're not holding any items, so it's going to tell us we don't have any items that could be stored in this chest. We can try to take items, but we have no items in the chest, so there's nothing stored. But if we get an item, now we've got an apple. Let's store this apple. So store, if you look at the menu, the store pear and store water are grayed out, and you're unable to select them. But we have an apple, so it's going to let us store an apple, so we'll do that. We put an apple in the chest. Now if we try to store an item, it's going to tell us we don't have any items to be stored, because we don't. We've already stored an apple and we have no items now. But we're able to take an item. So we've stored an apple, so we're able to take an apple, but we haven't stored the pear or the water, so we can't take that. So let's take an apple. Now we've taken the apple from the chest and we have our apple. Let's put the apple back in the chest and let's let the timer count. So if we look at our debug menu, we can go to our variable and see that chest 1 timer apple is already taken away. Every second that we're not in a menu, this is going to increment. So if I were to just go like this and wait for a couple seconds, it should be up there now. Let's check the debug. We can already see that this counter is up to 197, and once it hits 1800, it's going to delete the apple and let the player know that it's expired. So before that happens, let's get the pear and check it. So we've got the pear, even though it looks like an orange. Let's store an item. Now we have a pear, so it's letting us store the pear. We stored the pear in the chest. If we check our debug, you can see that even though in the split second in between storing the item and opening the menu, the timer has already started, and the apple timer continues to go. So this is our expiration. If we wait too long, they'll eventually expire. We'll get our water. Let's store our water. Now we put some water in the chest. Timers are still going. We try to store an item, but we don't have any because we've already put all 3 items in the chest. If we try to take an item, we have the option, all 3 options now. So let's take the pear. Our apple's getting closer to expiration. We have our pear. Let's take our water. Now we have our pear and our water, and the timer on the apple is continuing to go. So if we were to wait around for another 15 seconds or so, that timer is getting pretty close. Now if we open the menu, we could wait here all day and that timer won't go, because it'll only start ticking away if the menu's closed. So let's double check that real quick. So we're at 14:21, 1, 2. So in 2 seconds it gave us about 100 what it should be, about 60 frames a second. So if we go 1, 2, 3, so 4, it should be like a couple hundred now, right? But it hasn't. 1, 2, 3. Oops. So it's gone about 1 second there instead of 4 seconds. So it's about to expire. Store items. You can put the water back in. Take items. Take the water out. So any second, we're at 1724. So we're still able to just access this. But once that timer is over 1800, it's gonna, as soon as we open the chest, it's gonna let us know the apple in this chest has expired. And now we try to store items, we can't store the apple because it's expired. And we don't have it in our inventory because we let it expire. So hopefully this video helped you. I know it's a little more advanced, but it's not too complicated when you really think about it. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, like, favorite, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you guys for watching this video. Thank you for being awesome, and we will see you in the next